here. We believe that the hospitality industry should work hand in hand with technology. At ResDiary, customer experience for you and your diners is the most important measure of our success. Today, we're introducing a new technology that will revolutionise the way you process event inquiries. This is ridiculous, we're not Apple. It's an events manager and it's really good. It works with your existing diary, keeping all your bookings in one place. It gives you the tools to manage events as an individual or as an events team. So if you're a venue with private rooms, a restaurant group, or you just want to take bar bookings separately to those in your dining area, this can be a huge asset. We've designed it to be flexible, letting you add customizable fields to your bookings as needed. It works with our existing payment tools, so you're able to take deposits ahead of events in ways that best suit you and your customers. We've integrated our pre-order tools as well as giving you opportunities to automate and simplify events. And of course, it comes with a customizable widget that can be adjusted to your brand, gather the custom information you need, and opt them into marketing. Oh, and one more thing. It's completely commission-free. We'll be taking your questions live, so use the chat box to post them, and we'll answer them all to our best ability. But first, we made a short film with the team who developed events to give you a little bit more of an insight into how it works.
I wanted events before ResDiary knew that they needed events. As an event manager who used ResDiary, I always wanted to have events as part of ResDiary so that it could talk to each other. We could get restaurant bookings and events in the same diary.
Having a booking in a diary is something that's very definite, whereas you're starting with an event inquiry, you know, there's a lot of sort of questions around that. You know, the event that might not necessarily happen. There's a lot of conversation that can happen before it's like eventually confirmed. So we had to think a lot about what those processes needed to be for a venue before it then went into this sort of very much more confirmed status in the diary.
We spoke to a few customers who'd already taken inquiries but in a manual process, and we decided to see what parts of that we could make a bit better.
Went out and asked everybody a series of questions, we sent out a survey, and then that enabled us to really gauge the importance of each aspect.
We had a sort of user map that was based on a lot of individual points. We arranged them into a sort of common flow of taking inquiries, and we sort of tried to then make a sort of story. We took some samples of run sheets that we produced manually. The content of the documents varied so much that we decided to make them customizable. So every section that you add is unique to your venue and unique to the event itself.
Planning like an event, there's like a lot more information a venue needs to know. They need to know much more like detailed requirements.
From that initial inquiry to sending out the quote, to then chasing the customer, to then getting the contract.
So taking payments, securing inquiries with deposits was quite an important one for most customers. Creating a run sheet at the end of an event inquiry process was also quite important.
A way to create sort of itemised lists that would allow you to create like really detailed schedules, PDF generation, so you could print off all the important information from your event, hand it to somebody who's running the event during the day so they don't have access to their PC.
These were sort of common themes which everyone spoke to.
And one of the things we really had to try and like make sure we didn't do was have a very prescriptive process.
Keeping the system flexible is because we have so many different types of venues. So we didn't want to build a system that was really structured and that had all the different aspects of all the different fields. Like you definitely have to put in a menu, you definitely have to put in pricing, you definitely have to put in timings, because not everybody runs their events the same way. So that's why we've made it so customizable.
Something we do at ResDiary is like to try and get a sort of working version of the basic product as fast as possible. We can get people like design, product managers or testers, they can be in looking at the early sort of website and checking that it works as they're expecting, as slowly as we're developing it through.
And that was something that the beta was really about. We knew there was things that customers want to do and how they want to interact with the diary.
The main thing most event managers told us that there's very defined processes for setting inquiry statuses. The main one would be the confirmed status at the end, but prior to that you'll have a tentative stage. Between these steps of progression from new to confirmed, we decided on a few key markers: tentative, provisional and then confirmed.
And then once we started getting customers to use it, like particularly in the beta, then we that gives a better understanding about what they wanted to do and how they wanted the diary to behave, and that sort of then fed into like us building like much more automations on.
What we've built into events, which is amazing and I wish I had it, was that as soon as you turn a booking to provisional or confirmed, it warns you whether you've not held space in the diary. So we've added in some automation into the system so that it makes it a little bit more foolproof.
We realised early on that assigning events to individual users is important, and we also realised that lots of users can be influencing events throughout the course of its conversion.
So if you've got information of that event just stored in your personal email, just stored in your files on your computer, then it doesn't help anybody else help that customer. So having a shared system is just so much easier. Everything is open, everything is there to help out, and people can jump on and off and know exactly where you're at with that event.
So one key step of the event management process is to produce a run sheet at the end of having converted an inquiry.
So you can create a menu field, you can create a payment field, you can add all your information as you're going through. You can change that every single time you speak to the customer, so you don't have to write a note about what you're speaking about, you can just automatically change it in that event. You can simply print off that event planner, include what sections you want in it, and that's for your operations team. That's everything that they will ever need to know about that event. It just makes life so much easier and a lot less admin time.
And over time, our beta trialist helped us add more into the function. So the result feature was something that our beta customers had helped us build, hopefully that everyone can use.
It's in a really good, workable, usable state, but what we want is people to constantly feedback to us. Like, software is never finished. You're always going to develop it, you're always going to add more bits, and I want more bits for events.
And hopefully you can see all the sort of love and care that's went into developing it to hopefully make anyone getting events into their diary very happy.
I'm excited that it's finally here, because it's something that I always wanted, always needed. I'm glad that we can make people's lives better.
Events makes people's lives better. Now that's quite a claim. I've got Gemma from our training and support team and Ewan, who led on the development of our events manager, with us here this morning. And they're here to answer any questions that you have about our new feature. Please use the chat box next to this video to ask any questions that you might have, and we'll get to them at the end. But first, let's take a look at how this events manager works. So Ewan, you led on the development of this manager. Shall we start by having a look from the guest's point of view, making that initial inquiry?
Certainly. So what's going to show you is the initial stage of inquiry for a guest. So online, via this event widget. It's a fairly straightforward widget that first asks the user to nominate an event type. These are pre-configured by yourself. You can also choose another. So if the guest doesn't see an event type that matches what they're wanting to organise, they can input a custom event type. Once they enter all the details, they'll get some helpful hints along the way if the venue is able to accept the sort of size of the inquiry that they're looking for. In this example, maybe 200 guests is okay, but 2,000 is not. The message that shows when they enter more or less than the allowed party size, it's fully customisable by the venue.
That's great.
So you may want to include some information about alternative options for them. But at the moment I'm going to just continue to make a test inquiry. Takes a few seconds. You nominate the date, covers the time. These times follow your diary open and close times. The dates, any dates free to choose by the guest. And I'll continue to make a test inquiry here.
That's great. So Gemma, from a point of having dealt with events, does this almost cover all the information that you would have requested when you were managing your events manually?
Yeah, exactly. Just the usual details, name, number and email, and kind of what event you want to do, what size of party and what date you're looking for. So yeah.
That's great. So Ewan, once a guest would submit this inquiry, how does this look in my regular ResDiary? Can you maybe give us an overview of the interface?
Sure. So the the submitted inquiry is delivered to the diary directly. The customer at that point will get a branded confirmation email. The venue will also get an alert to say they have a new inquiry. You'll also get a number to indicate a new inquiry received here. This icon is where you access inquiries from. So this number 1 is the new inquiry received. It'll populate with as many new inquiries as you have. So I'll open up the inquiries now.
Oh, great. So here I've essentially got a list of all my event inquiries from the venue.
Exactly, so these are all the inquiries received across the venues group. So you'll see there's some venues here, there's 2 different venues in this group. On the right hand side I've got some filters that lets me refine the results to the venue that received inquiries. So for the test I made for this restaurant at Turn, if I click on the filter it will show me all the inquiries just for that venue.
That's perfect.
Okay, so the one I've submitted is just here. It's in an orange indicating it's new. It's currently unassigned. I can change who is assigned to this event if I want. If you've got an events team, for example, you might want to assign one of these events to individuals. I'll assign this one to Gemma. The other interaction you can make with this screen is to change the status of the event. So many venues might want to change it to confirmed status once they take payment, or just keep it at a tentative stage if you've not confirmed final numbers. You can change all these statuses from this screen.
And now, there's quite a lot of information on this page. Do I have the flexibility as well to maybe modify what information I see on this page, as well as the filters that you mentioned there via venue? Yeah, so venue is one filter. If you've got a group, you can also filter by the status of the event. So all these coloured statuses can be individually filtered. So in this example I've got all the new ones. Oh, wow.
If that's your preferred way of running events, i.e. you just want to see the new ones so you can deal with them as soon as you can use the all new filter. The reserve filter would show you how many events are actually taking space in your diary. So they're the ones that have probably got to the stage of confirmation, perhaps maybe even final numbers are not confirmed or pre-orders not submitted, but you want to maybe filter between new and reserved. It's just a matter of clicking the filter. That's great. So Gemma, before you joined us here at ResDiary, you were in charge of functions at quite a really busy venue. Now, how would you use ResDiary's events manager how would it have been beneficial for you?
Oh, so this events manager would have been amazing to have at the time of running events. The fact that you have all your events in one place, all your inquiries, is amazing. I'm so used to having little pieces of paper that staff have maybe taken on the phone, things going missing, or customers phoning us after a week saying, hi, I'm still looking for a reply. Basically having this fact of everything being here, seeing when a new event comes in is brilliant.
And if you've got an inquiry maybe in progress, could you maybe give me a quick overview of how you're managing that inquiry? At what point you're adding extra information?
Of course. So I'm going to go into this event here that's been confirmed. So as you can see, you've got your information at the top, the details of the guest and the cover size and time. And below we've got a part where you can put event value. So this is the forecasted amount you might forecast for your event. Any event comments, and then here we have the costs of everything they've ordered for their event. This will come up, and you can also include any sort of pre-orders, any menus, and any sort of personalised parts you'd like to have, say a running order or other information.
That's great. So now, changing the statuses, that'd be something that you would use yourself. I know that this one's confirmed.
Yep.
Would you find value in using all of those different statuses?
Yeah, definitely. I think this the whole booking process definitely goes through all these different parts. So it's good to know when it's say tentative, we're still waiting on numbers, provisional before they pay the deposit, and then confirm once they've actually made payment.
Adding payment is quite an important one. Could you actually show me payment being added in here, or how I'm managing that?
Yeah, so clicking on the edit costs and payments, this brings you back to the actual booking part, which most of you will obviously know. So here we can add any sort of payments, which we've had a deposit required of a hire cost and a buffet cost. As you do add deposit, then add payment.
Same as I would in my usual diary.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
right.
Now you've got some booking extras on the right there. So if I'm a venue that offers a DJ service or, cake fees, anything like that, I can actually use that instead of just having to manually insert them as deposits.
Exactly. So these booking extras we've just added ourselves. So you can personalise this however you like. Whatever service you require, you can also put the cost so that it will automatically add exactly how much the guest is going to have to pay.
Could you actually show me how you have set up these booking extras?
Sure. So we go to promote in the diary, and we go down to booking extras, and this is where you can add as many as you like.
Oh, that's great. So those are completely customizable to the event, to the venues themselves?
Yep.
That is fantastic. And this is something that's available just in my regular diary and not just with my events feature, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. Now, while we're in the promote section, if I'm looking at promotions, that's something that I know our customers do use regularly just in their regular Res diaries. Am I able to use the promotion function to maybe automatically attach payments or specific pre-orders if I use ResDiary pre-orders?
Yes, exactly. So basically in your promotions, where any promotions are set up and you may have, say, a deposit attached to them or a pre-order,
Absolutely.
these can be automatically added to your inquiry with no problem.
That's great. Now, I just want to remind you all, if you've got any questions about anything that we covered today, please do pop them in the chat box and we'll get to them at the end. So while we're still on the subject of pre-orders, if I use ResDiary pre-orders, I can actually specifically have these in my events as well as just, as I use them at the minute for large groups just in my regular restaurants.
Yeah, so obviously you can either have the promotion way where the pre-order's attached. You also can manually add the pre-order to, say you just want to attach a pre-order and you don't have a promotion, you can do that for no problem.
And what if I'm happy enough, I don't actually have ResDiary pre-orders, I'm a small venue, I'm happy enough just using, my basic Excel file. Is there a way that I can also integrate that into here, make sure that everything's in one place?
Yeah, so it's very easy to add on attach any files or any links to anything you have that you want to add to your inquiry. So if you just have an Excel file, you can upload that no problem, along with any menus or table plans.
That's great. Now I just want to remind all of you as well that we do have plenty of videos and just some informative articles on our pre-order functions, both in our knowledge base and on our YouTube channel. So feel free to check out those when you have some time. Now, most venues, this might be a question for yourself, Ewan, will be in constant communications with their guests over the phone, over email, throughout the whole process, from the inquiry itself all the way through to the day. Sure. How can I make sure that all this important information is in one place?
Sure, so obviously over the course of an event being processed to confirmed and put in your diary, there'll be a lot of correspondence with the customer. Maybe some phone calls, emails. What we've then built into ResDiary some sections that you can add that customise in this example for the correspondence you receive. It lets you itemise the dates of when you've received correspondence, input a little bit of the message, what was received, and maybe initial it so they know for future reference. All these details stay in the event forever. So on the night of the event, if you need to refer back to what was said early on in the process of the event, you can refer back to it through the event. So that's a good way of putting in your correspondence. You can also put in the notes of what the person wants over the course of the event. So any requests they make along the way, we have several sections we can add your own version of what correspondence looks to you.
That's actually a really good thing that you mentioned there, specifically that you said that you're putting all the relevant information, because I imagine in Gemma's situation you did emphasise the importance of having one user assigned to an event. So if that person was sick, instead of having to trawl through loads and loads of emails, maybe an account that you don't have access to, this actually lets you focus on the important ideas behind it.
Yeah, exactly. So the main event list, let's say if someone's off, it's a matter of reassigning the user. So if Gemma is absent or on leave, you can switch it to another user straight away. This lets that user filter to events assigned to them.
Oh, perfect.
Pick up where someone left off. On the right hand side, you'll see where Gemma used to make changes or last made changes. Gemma also has the option to pin important bits of information for anyone else looking at the event. This pre-order has been added as the most important thing, so we can pin to the top here. The right hand side is an audit list. Everything that happens to the event is in here. Any change of event type, numbers, space, whatever they want changed, we'll audit here, so you've got a sort of record of event.
Oh, cool, so a full tracking history almost there. And what about our venues? I'm just trying to make sure that every piece of information that we could possibly need is able to be in one place. And if I send invoices out to my customers, can I make sure that a copy of that is within my event as well?
Yep, the same idea of the attached files, which was this section here. In this case it was a menu, but you could easily add a uploaded PDF. So we've got an itemised list or links and files. And
there's no limit to how many of these I can add to one?
There's no limit. The file size limit is 2.5 megabytes, but you can put in multiple PDFs, which won't be larger than that. They'll store with the record of the event forever. As soon as you click on them, it'll open it in a new browser window or download the file. in this way. In this case, the menu is now downloaded to your computer. You might then want to print off a menu or an event plan or a guest list or something like that.
We've got a lot of information in one place here. Would we be able to look at maybe the run sheet feature that's within this event manager?
Yeah, of course. So this is a great function, basically generating a PDF of the event. So all you need to do is click on the generate event details, and actually you can choose what you'd like to appear on the PDF.
Wow.
So if I'm going to maybe just send this out to a customer for them to confirm, you'll maybe include your costs and the running order. You might not want to put in your emails or anything that's maybe just for your team. Also, if you're going to be giving it to your team, you'll take the costs out, they don't need to know that. And for chefs, for example, they'll just have the running order in the menu. So we can just generate it here, and I think this is something that's brilliant, because instead of having to edit your own sort of function sheet, make it nice and tidy, it comes up and it's perfectly laid out for you.
Wow, that's great. So you mentioned there, obviously, the different situations that we would be using. That must have been really time consuming for you to do that manually.
You would literally have to try and edit it to what you wanted it to be, changing it all to send it. Like here, it'll just generate and you have it, and print it or email it to whoever you want to.
That's great. So now to look at this in a different way, if I am perhaps a part of a group and I want to switch events, I noticed there when we were looking at the overall events, this is obviously part of a group central reservations of 2 venues. How easy is it for me to move one event inquiry into another diary if, for example, I don't actually have space for that event?
Sure, so obviously if it's a group of venues that are quite close in proximity, you might want to cross-promote venues. If you don't have space in one, you can push them to another venue. So this is the job of the event manager. We tried to make it as easy as possible. A inquiry here that needs to change venues is a matter of changing the drop-down menu from this venue to the other. It will correspond to the new venue's settings, so if there's any time discrepancies or numbers that aren't accepted, it'll let you know. In this case, it's not an issue to move from one venue to another. You can update that new venue change. You can send an email to the customer to let them know that their venue is now in a different place. You can tick that box on or off. As soon as you press update, it'll ask you to change the event type. In this case, this one venue is now more of a drinks-led place.
Perfect.
So there may be now a special occasion that's similar to the event type they asked for in the original venue, but it's now a sort of different type of format. So as soon as you've updated that, it'll audit on the right-hand side, like everything in events.
Oh, great.
It's now in an inquiry status still, but now with the venue to turn switched over.
You used a really fascinating term just earlier there at the start, cross-promoting your venues.
Oh yeah.
So from a guest's point of view, are they ever going to be, if I'm making an inquiry for the turn and say, for example, the group size isn't suitable, is it going to recommend?
Yep.
Oh, perfect.
So in a similar way to what I've just done there with the switching of venues, you can ask the customer to choose the venue they want. So in this case, I've got the widget loaded. 2 venues here are offered. I might choose one venue that has a sort of minimum party size, maybe in the.
And this would have been, Gemma, were you maybe just working with a venue that had one space, you weren't a part of a group, so would this have been something that you would have used?
Yeah, definitely. It would be great for when customers come on to see what other options they have.
Perfect, and that message says...
Yes, this is a customisable message, and this venue doesn't accept more than 90 guests. In this case, that's far too many. When you've got a number of guests that aren't accepted, you can just switch back to go to the other venue to change.
Oh, that's great.
So in this case, this place, the turn has loads of space for 200 guests on that occasion. You can then submit the inquiry, and now the customer has chose what venue they want. So a cross promotion, giving the customer the flexibility to change between venues, giving the message that they're prompted to do so.
Perfect. Now, once again, if you've got any questions, either even about these events widgets themselves or anything that you've come up and across, please pop them in that chat box and we'll get to them at the end. Now, Gemma, you did mention there that it was very important to be able to assign these to individual members of your staff.
Yep.
Why is that so important for you?
That's hugely important. When you're organising events, you really want it to be quite streamlined, and the guest wants to feel confident in your venue and create a relationship with somebody. So if you have one person assigned, this means that they'll be the ones dealing with everything. Obviously there's days that they're off, and as Ewan showed, we can assign to someone different, but that might just be for one day only. Also, it's really good for, say, managers to see the productivity of their team. You can track exactly how many that have been confirmed, and looking at the costs and the forecasting of each event, and it's also a good way of incentivising your team, really providing incentives depending on their kind of productivity.
No, that sounds really interesting. So you, and following on from that, you might even be able to show us, Gemma said there it was quite important for her to, incentivise the staff, track their progress.
Sure.
Is that quite an easy thing to do within the reporting side of events?
Yeah, so as a part of events, we've also built a reporting tool behind it. So all the data that you're processing here, statuses, values, all the confirmed parts of the booking event, you've now got a event report here. This lets you show a few sort of criteria about events that you're maybe interested in. A few on the right hand side here I've got, which is the users. So every single person in your events team,
Wow.
what sort of status events they've got in this current state of time, how many of them are confirmed, how many of them are lost. The value and expected value, this is sort of thing for budgeting, forecasting,
Absolutely.
what you might expect to receive over the course of a month, and also along those lines of incentivising if users are meeting their targets or not. Other examples of criteria you can look at in the events is sort of percentages of those in progress, so those in tentative and those in provisional. This lets you know if you're actually getting towards the confirmed status in a sort of quick time. The percentages here, so a lot of in progress here in this particular month, a lot of provisionals and zeros, so maybe you want to give more motivation to your team to push these forward to confirmation, maybe by contacting them. Another example here would be the projections for spend overall between venues. In this case I've grouped by venue and I've got an overall values, so in the future I can expect in months coming what I'm going to earn from events. When the event comes to the day of the guests arriving, when they do spend money you can add this manually, or if you've got EPOS integration you can pull these bits of the information through. The final one here is a good example of breaking down your success by the type of event that's going forward.
That's a good one.
This is more about showing you what your customers are more likely to ask of your event. So if they're more likely to inquire about weddings, you might want to push your marketing towards weddings. It seems to be working quite well for you. Or if you're getting very few for the drinks, you might want to switch the event types offered. This lets you see how successful each one is as well.
And these custom reports that you've made here, those were really easy to whip up.
Oh yeah, because like all the reports they can add and remove and update as you go along. There's lots of criteria here which you can see in other videos we have about reports, very similar. In this case you can split between the inquiries, which is the total number of inquiries, not the number of guests that represents. Any change you make whenever you run a report, this now showing venue stats and inquiries, total inquiries. Every event report can be saved. If you want to rename it or anything, you press update report, that's now saved.
Oh, perfect.
Similar to the event filters, they'll stay loaded in that view until you change it.
That's great. Now, thank you both so much. That's been really informative. I think we can actually go ahead now and answer some of the questions that we've had come in. If you have still got some questions to submit, please pop them in the chat box and we'll get to them. So let's start at the start here. I've got a question here from Joe Donnelly. Is there compatibility with Eventbrite? For example, if an event is ticketed?
Yeah, well, so Eventbrite's a platform that takes ticketed events, they're very good at it. Their processing of payments and for tickets is something similar that we can offer in ResDiary. There is no direct integration with Eventbrite, but you could of course run an event alongside an Eventbrite event within your diary. The difference that ResDiary would offer is that all the information about the events is running alongside your standard bookings. So on the day of an event you can see how many normal bookings you've got, if you need to make space for them, if you need to plan ahead for availability, moving things around. Eventbrite can sell the tickets, but we can sort of push the availability and make sure you're not making any mistakes overbooking.
Perfect. Now I've got a question from GNG Marketing. Can you integrate marketing communications? For example, email everybody who attended an event to say thanks for coming.
Yep, there's an option that's coming soon in our customer list report to filter by bookings, specifically those that have started as an inquiry. So with that status you can then generate our list. This isn't available quite yet, but it's something we've got in the works. Yeah.
Perfect. Now a question from George Sampson. Can the venue create the event and have it appear when people try and book over it? So for example, if a venue's got a set menu on a specific night and someone wants to book in for that night, it'll inform them that a venue's in place.
Yeah, well the event widget we've left quite open-ended in that none of the dates are blocked from the customer. So if you choose a date in this calendar, it's going to let you inquire. The way we see this working well is that, I don't know if Gemma can confirm, but it's good for the event manager to know what the original inquiry was. It then gives them the opportunity to maybe upsell to a different venue or maybe change the date. It's quite an open-ended thing, but the good part about that is the event manager can, at their own discretion, convert inquiries, not block them at the stage of their initial inquiry. So yeah, the widget doesn't reflect your availability if you've got things on, but it does let you manage that and receive the customer's details.
Perfect. Now, actually touching on the earlier question here, it's another one that's come in from James. Can I use this event manager to run ticketed events? So that ties in with the previous Eventbrite question.
Yeah, well, similar to the same sort of question, we do have the facility to run a ticketed event in ResDiary. You can take the full payment up front, you can deliver them an email that shows the confirmation reference number, but the ticketing part where we sell a set amount of tickets, although it can be figured in ResDiary, we're not selling them online for you on your behalf. If that's the ticketing system that this James has in mind, then that's not what we've got. We're not selling tickets for you.
Perfect. And a question here from Emma Louise. Can you link availability from PMS systems?
Yeah, the availability at the eventual stage of confirming an inquiry, it will refer to your diary availability, this button here, checking availability. At that point, it will dial into your normal diary availability, which is alongside your PMS booking. So if you have a PMS integration already, that will reflect what you've got available, not necessarily an unconnected PMS integration. You need to get the integrations. There are a lot of integrations we do. If that question was, if somebody was asking that question, I'd look at our website at PMSs. We do quite a lot of
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And you can access all of the PMS integrations that we have alongside all the EPOS and all the other special integrations that we have on our sales website. So, a question from Nestwalk Hotel. Will I be able to create a specific widget for a one-off event? So there seems to be quite a lot of these similar questions. I think they are seeing this more as the ticketed function that ResDiary does obviously offer.
Yeah, so the events widget can be posted on your social media. If you're running an event, you can ask people to inquire. At that point, you essentially have got their interest. You can then follow up, which most events have somebody that does that part. So you do follow up with them. You can accept payments over an email. You can send a request for a payment. But as an event widget, ours lets you receive the inquiry, and from there on you can do what you want with it. You can phone them or email, you have all their details.
Perfect. A question again from Emma. Would it work for selling tables or spaces like mixed Christmas party night? Again, this is quite similar to the ticket situation. Apologies, 1 second. A question from Will Barber. So if a customer requests an event type, such as a wedding, can you customise the quote value depending on what type of event the customer is selecting?
Well, the quote value is manually inserted, so based on what the packages they've asked for, you can total up the value that you'd expect to receive from that. If the person that's asking the question would like to run specific inquiries for weddings, there is an option to customise the email that gets delivered. So at the original stage of inquiry, you can then deliver them your PDF or brochure of weddings with all the package prices included, unique to that inquiry type. The emails can be customised so that you make sure the customer knows what to expect to spend, but there is no value insert that's automated.
So you just mentioned there with the emails, so for all these different event types, we're able to set specific information?
Yeah, so if you speak to one of the ResDiary support, they'll help you do this, but you can set up an email template that is customised per the event type that the guest has chosen. So at the stage of inquiring, you'll get an email that's exactly suited to what they've asked for. So if it's a drinks only package, you might get the drinks list, you might get some terms and conditions. If it's maybe more of a special occasion, you might want to set them your private dining menus, something like that.
Oh, that's fantastic. And similar to that question there, another one from Will, can you fully customise that customer inquiry page, that booking widget?
Yes, well the widget is exactly the same as all our other widgets in ResDiary. If you go to the promote section, you'll have your widget configurator, in which case you'll have 3 tabs, the second one of which is your events widgets. You can make a group widget if you've got more than one venue in your group. You can make it a standard individual site widget, but they're exactly the same as our booking widget. So yes, fully branded, fully customizable to your website and the look and feel of your website.
Perfect. And a question here from Mac. Can we create a menu that guests pre-order as individuals, and then we can use these to produce table cards? Now, Gemma, you actually with the training support team deal with the pre-orders quite a lot.
Yes, we do. So if you have pre-orders alongside on your diary, you can certainly the pre-order be emailed out, and this can be done per guest. the guests each order and their names are inserted, and you guys in the venue can print off place cards for the tables which have everyone's order on it.
Perfect. Now James has sent a question in saying, does this link with Stripe? So we did obviously look at that payments page.
Yep, all the functionality of Stripe payments that you enjoy with the normal ResDiary are all available in events at the point of conversion. So as soon as you have an inquiry that's ready to go ahead, you might want to take payments from, and that can all be done through the payments process we have. So Stripe, manual payments, whatever you've normally used, you'll have that in events.
Perfect. I've got a cheeky question here from GMG Marketing. Is there an option to explain to customers why weddings are more expensive than other functions?
Okay, right, so how do you explain that? Well, from what I've noticed and from what research we've done with events venues, their websites are quite tailored towards events where there's almost a whole page for weddings.
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine if you're inserting an events widget into your weddings page, the text surrounding it or the information around it will give them the idea of what to expect from your venue for weddings. Our events widget is limited just to nominating what the event type is.
Absolutely.
But a lot of the sort of information about value is more about the context of where the widget is located. So I'd suggest put it inside your events page, surround it with text that relates to what you generally do with events.
Perfect. Question from, there's no name on this one. Can you send an email to a customer directly from ResDiary or link it straight to your email app?
Email. So yeah, all the emails which I touched on are automated to the extent that you can choose to automatically send an email.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever stage of the inquiry, you can send the initial inquiry email. You can send them an update email, so anytime you change numbers, you can send them a version of the new version of the events. And when you confirm the booking, when you put it in the diary, you can send them an email there. So there's about 4 emails you've got there.
Yeah.
They're all customizable, but you can on sort of a bespoke way send an email when you want. It's a more of an automatically generated template. You can deliver at any stage of the inquiry.
Now, a specific one for the actual inquiry themselves, Gemma, this might be one for you. What happens when you confirm an inquiry within the list of inquiries?
So when you confirm an inquiry, as in what the guest gets?
No, from you.
Our side?
Are you prompted to look for availability?
Yeah, so when we go to confirm the inquiry, it will go to the booking process and it will either say to you if there's no availability and why there isn't any availability, so then you can go and have a look at another date just to see if that's free and then maybe suggest that to the guest.
And I've got a question here from Zoe Passion. She's just wondering more about the booking extras and whether they'd be suitable for someone that doesn't have pre-orders set up on the diary. It's not something that they use at the venue.
Yeah.
From obviously having managed these before in a venue for yourself, what kind of things would you have used the booking extras for?
Huge range of things. You know, people will, like hiring a DJ. If you maybe don't have pre-order set up, you could add in booking extras as in some menus or any items, birthday cake, things like that. But it's great to have like as an option, and because you're doing it manually before, you'd try and remember everything, the price of everything, but booking extras are just there and all you need to do is add in 1 to however many they're going to have.
I guess that's actually quite handy as well if you are distributing these tasks to your staff,
yes,
that you know the prices are always going to be correct.
Exactly, no one's just going to say I think it's this price or get it wrong, so no, it's great.
Perfect. A question from Andy Ross. Can you raise invoices through the system and will it integrate with account software, for example Xero?
Yeah, so invoicing is a big part of an event sort of for more established venues that have a lot of money being changed hands. Obviously, at the end of it, you want to send an invoice to the company. We don't have a facility to generate an invoice and deliver it. What would be quite handy though is that within each event you can store an invoice document, which are fairly sort of standard documents, to the event, so you can, whenever you want, produce the downloaded version of that invoice specific to that event, and then print it off and deliver it. But we don't integrate with an invoicing system or deliver automated invoices for the customer to pay. A good alternative to that is the Stripe landing page, which we have a few videos on, but they're essentially we'll send an email request for payment. At that point, Stripe will just sort of generate a receipt.
Yeah.
So depending on what you're meaning by invoices, we do have a facility to request payment from customers. Maybe not necessarily through sort of SagePay or something, the integrated system of invoicing, but we don't have that.
Perfect. And another question from GNG Marketing. When is the events diary scheduled to go live and can we trial it?
Well, it's currently finishing its beta version, so we had a lot of good customers helping us build events up to what it is right now. It's nearing the end of this, but it's actually already an option you can add to your package, because from our product team perspective, we've finished the product as it is, so the events management's available to everybody. There's lots of details on our website, but depending on what package you're on, what it will cost. But yes, it is ready.
Perfect. A question from Stephen here. When assigning the event coordinator, there can be cross-venue coordinators and location-specific coordinators. How will this work, assigning coordinators from another venue?
Yeah, well, the helpful thing you have in your assigned status is the most recently used members of your team. If you've got 4 venues and 4 event managers that you know the name of, they'll appear here automatically. To manage venues across cross venues at different locations, I would probably suggest the filters. The good thing about the filters is you can include as many sort of custom venues as you want. So if you've got a group that has sort of brands or locations, you can save a filter that relates to those. Within that list of inquiries, I can't really think of a way to automatically assign to a coordinator that's in charge of those venues, but I think most of the venues we know of, everyone knows the name of the event manager that's in charge of a region or a few sites. Hopefully that they're at the top of the list and most used assigned.
Perfect. Now I'd just like to pop in there and just mention as well that the events manager is live, and in the feedback email that you will receive following this webinar, there will be a sign up form included there, and even if you have any other questions, you're more than welcome to give us a ring here at HQ, and our training and support team will be happy to answer anything extra that you might have come across. So I've got a couple more questions. So we've got a question here saying, can you generate different views with the run sheets? Now we did touch base on this.
Yes.
What situations would you feel that you would need different views of run sheets for?
Yes, so in regards to run sheets, definitely would print it off differently for different people involved. Staff members may be setting up the room for like the event the night before.
Yeah.
They would just need maybe the table plan and the running order just so they know how things are going to run. Chefs, again, I really would just need the menu and the running order. Customers, well, the people that are booking, I'd quite like to have the PDF generated with everything except for maybe some information that's just only for our team and the setup that they don't need to see.
Perfect. I've got a really interesting question from Katie here. How can you tell an event booking from a regular booking?
That's a good question. So when you're in ResDiary, the colour-coded views you maybe use or not already, they can be specific to events. So you have your large party booking types, which include things like the event area, which is an automated status for events when you book across a whole area. If your venue does generally book full area bookings, then that's probably ideal. The other clue that you've got is that on the event itself, the button that normally says view booking will say view event. So on the diary you've got an indication that it's an event. Other than that, the best idea for venues is to look at the reference number. All our events start with an F, all our normal bookings start with a B.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a clue there. So colour coding, maybe the reference person I would say would be a bit more obvious that it's an event. Yeah.
Perfect. A question from Stephen again. Do you get alerts if an inquiry is not viewed or chased within a set time period?
Yeah, well, alerting is something that we don't have built into the system, but we hopefully have encouraged people to go into this event list view whenever they need to. We do have some automated emails for inquiries received. You also get automated emails for inquiries modified. So you have an event manager that needs to be on top of all the events so they can get set alerts. We don't have an alert for an event that's not been changed status, but hopefully the filters let you see just the ones that are maybe of most concern, as in that have been created after a certain date, but are still in a status that's tentative or provisional. The lead time for inquiries sort of varies between venues. Some people like to process and confirm an inquiry within 24 hours. Some people think maybe 3 weeks is actually quite reasonable for their type of venue.
So it just gives scope for you to have that flexibility.
Yeah, I would add a filter that makes sure that you've got a created date sorted by the oldest one, and make sure that those oldest ones are not still in new Yeah, monitoring your event list is probably the best way to do it. As you get used to using ResDiary's event manager, you'll probably see these orange ones winking at you to say you need to do something with these.
And also by having that pink number on the homepage, you are highlighted for those new ones that come in.
Exactly.
So I've actually got a question here as well for the notifications for your venue users. Can I set up, maybe the owner's intrigue of being notified every time?
Yep. There's a section for these. If anyone's unfamiliar with ResDiary, there's a section for manager alerts essentially. These are all different types of alerts you can get if you're not at your ResDiary all day long. You can have an email sent to you in an automated way. So these two types of event inquiry ones here can be turned on. Any number of any number of email addresses can be added here.
Fantastic.
So your boss, your event manager, anyone can get them.
That's great. Now I've got a question about group level reporting. I'm assuming all the individual reports that I could that you showed me there, this can be done on the whole groups. You can pick certain venues.
Yeah, so similar to the statuses in events, you can filter the venue specifically you want to report on. ResDiary's default is to report on the whole group as a whole, so this all venues number here, icon. If you want to choose a certain amount of venues within your group, it's just a matter of selecting them from this drop down. If you've got brands or locations that are important to you, it's only a one-time only action. Once you've saved that report, you can refer to that whenever you need to.
That'd be really handy for maybe some groups that we've got that have got they're all over the country, and we've got area managers, so it means that they can focus specifically on their areas as well. Now, a question from Luke: will this automatically be available within our ResDiary if we sign up, or will we need to access it separately via a different login or different page? Now, you showed us this is just your general ResDiary, isn't it?
Yeah, so anyone that's got ResDiary knows this screen quite well, I'm sure. Event Inquiries lives here, so as soon as you sign up to use Event Inquiries, this icon will appear. Within a few days, I'm sure you'll get some of these numbers updating with inquiries received. So the steps would be sign up to ResDiary Event Inquiries, get your event widget on your website, and you'll start to see these numbers going up. When you plug into your event inquiries, you'll start to see the names of the customers, and hopefully get used to using things like the filters and the statuses.
Absolutely, because that just simplifies the whole look for you in one instance. Perfect. So an interesting question here that, Gemma, I'll direct this to you. Somebody's very interested about that extra triggered information we can have for certain event types in the emails, and they're asking, is this facility available in standard emails within the diary?
So just in standard booking?
Yeah, so sort of if you're to book onto a Valentine's Day, Mother's Day promotion, can we also use the feature of adding extra information in?
Yeah, so this is something we can do via promotions. So if you have, say, Valentine's Day promotion set up, and you can ask us at support to put in some conditional text that will attach to anyone that books in the Valentine's promotion.
Perfect. Is there other different, you're saying promotions, what if I'm a venue that does I don't use promotions? Is the conditional text applicable anywhere else? Group sizes, anything, any other situation?
Yeah, there's a few more. The channels is a good one if you've got a specific channel partner that you like to see how many bookings are getting from you, or you like to deal with those customers in a different way, like an afternoon tea channel, for example. The templates can be modified by that. They can also be modified by the party sizes. So for your big parties, you get maybe an option to view our menus. For large parties,
perfect.
That sort of thing.
Extra T's and C's and stuff like that.
Yeah,
as well,
there's a lot of options. Ask someone in support; they'll be more than happy to guide you through the options available.
Fantastic. Well, that's all the time that we have today. Thanks to both Gemma and Ewan for joining us. And if you're looking for any more information about events, we have a dedicated events page on our ResDiary sales site. Just head on to sales.resdiary.com/features. And as always, subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of our ResDiary products.